Have you ever had that time in your life where you find a movie that you swear was made for you? I think I found it. Anna and the Apocalypse is another delightful little film from Britain, and this film follows along in the glorious tradition of Shaun of the Dead. One could probably theorize that after Shaun of the Dead came out, you had a bunch of aspiring filmmakers who all watched that film and go, romantic comedy with zombies? Watch me pint. I'm happy to say this, if there's any film that ably follows in the footsteps of Shaun of the Dead's glorious penchant for genre bending, I can happily say Anna and the Apocalypse is the film that puts in the strongest bid. Because not only is this film a zombie film, and a well-made one at that, it is also a Christmas film, but it's also a musical. Yes! Anna and the Apocalypse is a zombie Christmas musical, and it's glorious. What the hell kind of story does this film have that it justifies blending these three genres? The film tells the story of Anna. Big shock. Anna is a girl who's on the cusp of adulthood and she wants to get out and experience the world before she has to face the inevitable pains of obligation when it comes to being an adult, before she has to settle herself in some job and actually have to experience reality. She's even got a ticket to Australia. She's ready to go out and experience life, but unfortunately this puts her at odds with her father, who tells her that the best idea is to go to university, matriculate, get your degree, get your education, and set yourself up in a nice comfy job, and then maybe go out and experience all that life that she was talking about. This also kind of puts her at odds with her best friend John, who she's been friends with for years, and really hasn't thought about the world outside of his little sphere with school, with Anna, and really only saw himself with Anna for the rest of his life. But now that he sees her actually really trying to think about what she wants to do with the rest of her life, he is actually confronted with the reality that his future may not actually involve her. Well, reality gives them all a good sharp kick in the ass because a couple days out from Christmas and the zombie apocalypse happens. This is very inconvenient because Anna's father is stuck at the school when he was there last night during a Christmas pageant, and a lot of her friends are divided and separated. So you find Anna trying to band together whoever she can muster to get to the school and save her father and hopefully get the hell out of Dodge and try to survive what is very clearly going to be a very bloody affair. So in order to analyze a film like this, we gotta break it down to the three genres that it champions. So the first real question, as a zombie film, how does this film work? I can happily say the film works exceptionally well. One of the things I've always said I love about the zombie genre is the way it uses the zombies as a sort of parallel to how we deal with certain aspects of life. I mean, of course, Shaun of the Dead used zombies as a way that all of us pretty much fall into a sort of funk in our life where we just seem to go through the motions and we all kind of need that big push to kind of make something interesting out of it. This film, on the other hand, uses the zombie apocalypse as a parallel for the hardships of reality that you end up confronting when you're out there in the world, when you become an adult, and when you have to face off against all these things that we're going to have to deal with on a daily basis. And what matters is how you are prepared for it. And it's with that thought process in mind that I actually found myself really surprised by the resolution, particularly when it came to who survives at the end of the movie. Not going to spoil it, though I will safely say, yes, Anna survives it because, well, Anna and the Apocalypse. I'm going to keep making comparisons to Shaun of the Dead because the great thing that that film did was take the zombies seriously. It wasn't a parody of the zombie genre by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it was an affectionate homage. And because of that, a lot of the scenes involving zombies you can actually take seriously. There's moments where the film gets very dramatic and very poignant. And this film follows suit on that. When the movie needs to get serious, it does get serious. And the movie is so much better for it. It takes the themes that it intends to explore, specifically the hardships of oncoming adulthood, and uses it to build the characters and come to a remarkably and refreshingly cynical conclusion. And I know it's weird for me to say refreshingly cynical, but I like that the film at the very end doesn't lie to you. It doesn't try to sugarcoat anything. It doesn't give you, as one of the fantastic songs in this movie says, Hollywood ending. It simply says that, listen, life is going to be really hard, it's going to be difficult, and what matters is how well you're prepared to deal with it. Because all the good things are going to come, but you got to go through a lot of shit in order to experience them, because that's what's going to make those moments sweeter. But for all you carnage-seeking, blood-hungry nuts out there who just love a good zombie apocalypse, how does this film work on that level? Well, I can definitely tell you this. There are some exceptionally well-conceived sequences. There's a great showdown in a bowling alley, and there's actually a really suspenseful sequence in the cafeteria involving the insane headmaster played by Paul Kaye, who some might remember from Game of Thrones. For myself, a favorite sequence is where Anna is singing a very happy-go-lucky song, getting ready to confront her day. She's got her earbuds in, and it's so loud she doesn't hear all the madness that's happening right behind her. And I laughed to beat the band. There were so many great moments of zombie carnage in there, the kind that you would see in stuff like Dead Alive or even Deathgasm. Actually, there was a great moment that reminded me of Deathgasm, and again, I will not spoil it for you. And while you're at it, watch Deathgasm. But since we're on the subject of musicals, how does it work on that level? Now, many of you all know me. In Rare Delicacies, I've always said I love musicals, but I really love musicals with something of a macabre edge. That's why Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street is one of the greatest musicals ever made, and by extension, Assassins. But I also love Reefer Madness the musical. I love Evil Dead the musical. I love the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I love all of these. And Anna the Apocalypse fits in with this grouping perfectly. But the thing that this one does over the other ones is that this one plays with your stereotypical perception of musicals, because a lot of people still have that negative perception of it, that, you know, all it is just a bunch of upbeat numbers which completely clash with the tone of the story they're trying to tell, you know, like Rodgers and Hammerstein. Fight me. Fucking fight me. But this one lulls you into a false sense of security. You think that, oh, this is just going to be a musical where we're not going to take everything seriously that it goes on. The music in this film is exceptionally well conceived, where it actually evolves with the tone of the story as it progresses. Music actually kind of starts with the kind of stuff you'd run into in High School Musical that has a lot of very perky numbers with some very cheery dance sequences. There's a beautiful song called Hollywood Ending that's done in a cafeteria, and it's exactly the kind of thing you'd see in High School Musical. But as the story progresses, as things become more dire, and when things get more serious, the music goes along with it. And the thing I was worried about at the very end was it going to cheapen everything that had come before to this point with this big happy closing number? No, it absolutely does not. In fact, the finale of this one reinforces a lot of the points that I mentioned before, and does so with a complete lack of bullshit. I was watching it going, this is definitely not the movie that we started with. And that's the big reason why this film works so well as a musical. Which leads us to the final question. How does this film work as a Christmas movie? Now, I did kind of feel in the beginning that it did get thrown a bit by the wayside, but then I had to think long and hard about the evolution of the story. Now, of course, when you think about Christmas, you think of the one essential thing that we all like to do. We like to get together with the people we love and reflect on the year that was and realize that we got through another year and that we were strong and we actually were able to do so together. And that is Anna's journey throughout this movie. When all hell breaks loose, her first thought process is to get to the school with her friends, with her family, and survive, and have this hope that they can move on to another time with a better future. And this film, to its credit, does not resolve in the way I expected. Actually, to my surprise, even though Anna does actually have a lot of resolution with her loved ones, including her friends and her father, but it even has her settling ties with people that in the beginning of the movie you just have nothing but contempt for. And it was actually kind of staggering, but it all fell into the themes that I mentioned before. And that's the thing that really makes Anna the Apocalypse stand out, is that even though it is a lot of fun, it's really funny with some great performances all throughout with a really game cast, at the end of it all, it hits you over the head with an incredibly mature and very serious moral to it. The moral that reality sucks, adulthood sucks, responsibility sucks, and it's something that you are going to have to deal with day after day in your daily grind. But what matters more than anything is how ready are you to deal with it. And the ending of this film feels absolutely right, because the people you're left with are all people who, for one reason or another, have had to learn to deal with the harsh lessons taught to them, not just by this whole ordeal, but by life in general. And you see them move on and you know that they're probably going to be okay, even with the world pretty much bearing down on them, ready to rip them apart. And that's why I'm going to say, in the forest of other films that have tried to copycat the formula that Shaun of the Dead created, and the Apocalypse is the only one that I can say is worthy to follow in its footsteps. Because much like how Shaun of the Dead was a zombie romantic comedy, and it did all of those with the utmost conviction, and the Apocalypse does the same, with really strong performances, fantastic music, really good gore, really great zombie carnage, and above all, a good Christmas movie that does not bullshit you with some saccharine message. And with that in mind, that is why I'm going to give Anna and the Apocalypse a Narcotic Casserole rating of... This film is currently streaming right now on Amazon Prime, so I definitely recommend you check it out for Christmas. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think that this film is just another in a long line of posers trying to copy Shaun of the Dead? Or do you think that this film is a one-of-a-kind delight, not just for horror, but for musicals and for Christmas? Leave it all in the comments below. And for more festive content on Narcotic Casserole, simply like, share, subscribe, click. Thou shalt be served.